My ex screamed, "You're ruining my Christmas. I'm telling everyone you're kicking me out for rejecting you, after planning a party in my house without asking." I said, "Okay," packed her bags. Moments later, a woman I'd never met knocked and asked, "M32, and I'm starting to think I might be losing my mind here. Need some outside perspective because everyone in my life has different opinions about what I should do." Sloan and I broke up 4 months ago after dating for 8 months. It wasn't dramatic or ugly. We just realized we wanted different things. She's more of a free spirit, spontaneous, likes to keep her options open. I'm more of a planner, like stability, want to build something lasting. We tried to make it work, but eventually had to accept we were incompatible. Here's where it gets complicated. I own my house outright, inheritance from my grandfather, and Sloan had been living with me for the last 3 months of our relationship. When we broke up, she asked if she could stay until she found a new place, since she'd given up her apartment to move in with me. I said yes because it felt like the decent thing to do. She was looking for work, money was tight, and honestly, I felt guilty about the breakup even though it was mutual. I've been financially burned before. My last ex disappeared with my credit cards and left me in debt for months, so I'm probably too careful about not seeming stingy or controlling. That was 4 months ago. She's still here. At first, it was fine. She was respectful, kept to herself mostly, actively job hunting. But over the past 2 months, things have changed. She's gotten comfortable. Too comfortable. She started bringing friends over without asking, not just for dinner or hanging out. I'm talking about people I don't know staying overnight, using my guest room, eating my food. When I mentioned it bothered me, she said I was being unwelcoming and that she didn't think I'd mind since it's not like we're together anymore. She stopped contributing to household expenses entirely. Doesn't buy groceries, doesn't help with utilities, doesn't clean. I've been essentially running a free boarding house for someone who treats me like an annoying roommate in my own home. Last week was the final straw. I came home from work to find her in my kitchen planning a Christmas party. Not asking about having a party, planning one. She'd already invited 20 people, ordered catering, bought decorations. "Oh, Connor's here," she said to her friend on speakerphone. "Yeah, I told everyone Saturday night. It'll be perfect. The house is big enough, and obviously everyone's invited." Obviously everyone's invited to my house, for a party I knew nothing about. When I asked her what was happening, she acted like I was being weird for not knowing about the party she was throwing at my house. "It's Christmas, Connor. I wanted to do something nice for our friends." "Our friends?" "You know what I mean. My friends, your friends, mutual friends. It's the holidays." I told her we needed to talk about boundaries, and that's when she got upset, said I was being controlling, that she thought we were past this kind of petty stuff, that she was just trying to bring some joy into the house since I'm always so serious. "Sloan, this is my house. You can't plan parties here without asking me. I didn't think you'd mind. It's not like you have other plans." That's when I realized how far this had gone. She's been living in my house rent-free for 4 months, and somewhere along the way, she'd started acting like it was hers. I told her she needed to find somewhere else to live by the end of the month. Her reaction was intense. She accused me of ruining her Christmas, of being vindictive about the breakup, of kicking her when she's down. Said her friends would never forgive her for canceling the party, that I was destroying her happiness out of spite. But here's the thing. I'm not being spiteful. I'm just exhausted. Living with someone you're not in a relationship with is weird enough. Living with someone who treats your house like their personal event venue while contributing nothing is unsustainable. My mom thinks I should let her stay through the holidays because it's the right thing to do. My friend Kale thinks I should have evicted her months ago and that I'm being a pushover. Update 1. After my last post, I decided to be firm about the move-out date. I gave Sloan formal written notice that she had 30 days to find alternative housing, effective immediately. Her reaction was nuclear. First came the tears and guilt trips. I was being heartless, destroying her life, punishing her for being honest about our relationship incompatibility. Then came the anger. How dare I treat her like a stranger after everything we'd shared? How could I be so cruel during the holidays? When neither of those worked, she shifted tactics. "You know I have tenant rights, right? You can't just kick me out. Sloan, you're not paying rent. You're not on any lease. You're a guest who's overstayed. I've been living here for 7 months total. In Tennessee, that establishes tenancy. You have to go through proper eviction procedures. I stared at her, trying to figure out when my ex-girlfriend had become a legal expert on tenant law. Turns out she'd been researching this. Found browser history on our shared computer, searches for Tennessee squatter rights, how to establish tenancy, preventing wrongful eviction. She'd been planning for this conversation. Sloan, are you seriously threatening to sue me for asking you to move out of my house? I'm protecting myself from illegal eviction. You can't just decide someone doesn't live somewhere anymore because you're having feelings about it. The audacity was breathtaking. 4 months of free housing, utilities, food, and now she wanted to make me legally fight to get my own house back. But it got worse. She started a social media campaign, posted this long Facebook rant about how her cruel landlord was trying to evict her right before Christmas, how heartless it was to throw someone out in winter, how she was being punished for refusing to pay rent with her body after their breakup. That last part really pissed me off because it implied I was demanding sexual favors for housing, which never happened. I asked her to remove it, and she said she was just telling her truth about the situation. My phone started blowing up with messages from mutual friends asking what was going on. Some were supportive, saying they'd noticed her taking advantage of my generosity. Others thought I was being harsh, especially with holiday timing. Her friend Elaine actually called me to yell about how I was destroying Sloane's mental health, and how real men don't abandon women when things get hard. Real men, like I was supposed to provide free housing forever because I have a Y chromosome. The legal research was what really got to me, though. She'd been living in my house, eating my food, planning parties without permission, all while secretly researching how to make it legally difficult for me to get her out. That's not someone going through a hard time. That's someone who's been strategically taking advantage of my kindness. I called a lawyer yesterday. Good news is that Tennessee law is more reasonable than Sloan thinks. Since she's never paid rent and there's no written agreement, she's legally a guest, not a tenant. I can ask her to leave, and if she refuses, it becomes trespassing. Bad news is that the process still takes time, and she knows exactly how to make it as difficult as possible. I've started documenting everything: the party planning without permission, her friends staying over, her refusal to contribute to expenses. My lawyer says having a record of boundary violations will help if this goes to court. Meanwhile, she's acting like nothing happened, still bringing friends over, still making herself at home, still acting like I'm the crazy one for wanting my own space back. My friend Silas came over yesterday and was shocked at how comfortable she'd gotten. Dude, she's redecorated your living room. She moved your furniture around and put up her own art. This isn't someone who's temporarily staying here. He was right. I hadn't noticed because it happened gradually, but she'd basically taken over my house. Her stuff was everywhere. My stuff was moved around to accommodate hers, and somehow I'd become a guest in my own home. Update 2. I thought I understood the scope of what I was dealing with. I was wrong. Last Tuesday, one of Sloane's friends, Mira, approached me after she'd left for work. She seemed nervous, like she was debating whether to tell me something. Connor, I need to ask you something, and please don't tell Sloane I brought this up. Okay. She's been charging me $200 a month to stay in your guest room when I'm in town for work. She said you were cool with it and that the money was for household expenses. But I'm starting to think you don't know about this arrangement. My blood went cold. How long has this been going on? 8 months. Since before you two broke up. I travel to Nashville for work twice a month and Sloane said I could use the guest room instead of staying in hotels. 8 months. She'd been running a bed and breakfast operation out of my house for 8 months, charging friends for access to my guest room, and I'd had no idea. Mira, I've never agreed to any of this. I didn't even know you were paying her anything. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I thought this was legitimate. She showed me her bank statements to prove the money was going to household expenses. Bank statements. She had documentation of this scheme. After Mira left, I started paying closer attention to who was coming and going. Turns out it wasn't just her. There's a guy named Jarek who's been staying every other weekend for work trips. A woman named Brielle who uses the guest room when she's visiting her boyfriend in the city. All of them paying Sloane for the privilege of staying in my house. All of them under the impression that I was aware and okay with this arrangement. I did some math. If she's been charging $200 per person and has 3 regular guests, that's $1,800 a month in income she's been generating from my property. For 8 months, that's over $14,000 she's made from my house while contributing nothing to actual expenses. But it gets worse. I was helping my neighbor Huxley with his internet setup yesterday when he mentioned something strange. "Hey, isn't that your ex-girlfriend? The one who lives with you? We broke up months ago, but yeah, she's still staying here temporarily. Weird. She was on my dating app matches yesterday, and her profile said she lived alone in this neighborhood. Used a picture of your front porch as her main photo. She's been using my house on dating apps, my address, my front porch, presenting herself as a homeowner to potential dates. When I confronted her about all of this, her response was unbelievable. I was helping with expenses. I thought you'd appreciate me contributing to the household. Sloan, you were charging people to stay in my house without telling me. That's not contributing to expenses. That's profiting off my property. The money went to groceries and stuff for when guests were here. You haven't bought groceries in 4 months, and you've made thousands of dollars charging people rent for my guest room. I needed income. You know I've been struggling financially. So you decided to start a business using my house without my permission?" That's when she said something that made me realize how little respect she had for me. "It's not like you were using the guest room anyway. I was maximizing the value of unused space. Maximizing the value of unused space in my house that she doesn't pay for." I found out about the dating app thing because she'd matched with my neighbor. She'd been presenting my house as hers to men she was trying to impress. When dates came over, she'd give them tours of her place, show off her garden, talk about her neighborhood. My lawyer was fascinated by all this when I told him. Apparently, using someone's property for commercial purposes without permission is a much bigger legal issue than just overstaying as a guest. She's essentially been running an illegal bed and breakfast out of your house while committing identity theft on dating apps. This changes things significantly. I asked all of her paying guests to leave immediately. Most were understanding once they realized the situation, though Jarrett got angry and demanded a refund from Sloan. She's been sulking ever since, acting like I'm the unreasonable one for shutting down her business operation. Keeps muttering about how I'm preventing her from being self-sufficient and blocking her path to independence. The cognitive dissonance is staggering. She thinks charging people rent for my guest room while paying no expenses herself is independence. Edit. Several people have asked about pursuing charges for the unauthorized rental income. My lawyer says it's possible, but I mostly just want her out of my house. I'm not looking to destroy her life, just reclaim my own. Edit 2. To those asking how I missed this for so long, she was good at scheduling around when I'd be home, and I trusted her when she said friends were just visiting. I didn't realize money was changing hands. Edit 3. Mira felt terrible about the whole thing and offered to testify about the rental arrangement if needed. She genuinely thought it was a legitimate sublet situation. Final update. This saga finally ended, but not in any way I could have predicted. I'm writing this from my quiet, empty house, and honestly, it's the most peaceful I've felt in months. After my last update, the situation got tense fast. Sloan realized her rental scheme was exposed and that I had documentation of everything. Her lawyer apparently told her she had no legal standing to stay, especially with the unauthorized commercial use of my property. But instead of gracefully accepting that she needed to leave, she decided to make the process as difficult as possible. She started bringing more people over, not paying guests this time, but friends who would stay late, make noise, and generally make my house feel unsafe. When I asked her to stop, she'd say she had a right to have guests until her move-out date. The breaking point came when I got home from work last Thursday to find 5 strangers in my living room drinking my beer and playing video games on my TV. Sloan was nowhere to be found. "Where's Sloan?" I asked. She went to the store, said we could hang here until she got back. These people didn't know me, had never met me, and were treating my house like a hangout spot while my ex-girlfriend ran errands. I asked them to leave and called Sloan. She was furious that I'd embarrassed her in front of her friends, and said I was being controlling and weird about the situation. That night, I told her she had 48 hours to be completely moved out, or I was filing a trespassing complaint with the police. Moving day was chaos. I took the day off work to supervise. thinking it would be straightforward. Instead, I watched Sloane try to pack my belongings along with hers. "That's my couch," I said as her friend Rook started carrying it toward the truck. "You gave it to me for my birthday." "Sloane, we broke up before your birthday, and I bought that couch 3 years ago." "Well, you said I could use it whenever I wanted." This went on for hours. She claimed my coffee maker was a gift. My dining room chairs were shared purchases, even though I had receipts showing I'd bought them before we met. She tried to take my TV, my blender, even tools from my garage. The most surreal moment was when she grabbed my grandmother's mixing bowls from the kitchen. "These weren't gifts, Sloane. They were my grandmother's. I've been using them for months. They're practically mine now." That's when I called the police. The officer who responded was a middle-aged woman who'd clearly seen this kind of thing before. She listened to both sides, looked at the receipts and photos I'd pulled up on my phone, and calmly explained to Sloane that you can't claim ownership of someone's belongings just by using them. "Ma'am, unless you have written documentation that these items were gifts, you need to leave them here." Sloane tried to argue, said the officer was taking my side because I'm a man, that this was all about gender bias and financial manipulation. "Ma'am, I need you to pack only your personal belongings and leave the premises. If you continue to claim items that aren't yours, we can discuss theft charges." That sobered her up pretty quickly, but even then, she managed to get the last word in. As she was loading the last box into her truck, she turned to me and said, "I hope you're happy living alone forever. No one's ever going to put up with your controlling bullshit the way I did." Controlling. For asking her to move out of my house after 4 months of free housing and discovering she'd been running a business out of it without my permission. After she left, I did a full inventory of the house. She'd managed to take some smaller items, kitchen utensils, towels, a few books, but nothing major. I also found things she'd left behind, including a folder of printed emails where she'd been corresponding with other potential tenants for my guest room. Apparently, my house was going to become a full-time Airbnb operation if I hadn't put a stop to it. My neighbor Huxley helped me move furniture back where it belonged, and we ordered pizza and watched a movie in my reclaimed living room. It was the first time in months that my house felt like mine again. The weirdest part has been the silence. No random friends showing up, no surprise parties being planned, no one treating my kitchen like a communal space. Just me, my house, my rules. I've been thinking a lot about how I let things get so out of hand. The truth is, I was so afraid of being seen as controlling or stingy that I let someone walk all over me. I confused kindness with being a doormat. My previous ex stealing my credit cards taught me to be careful about money, but it also made me overcompensate by being too generous with everything else. I thought being understanding and accommodating would protect me from being taken advantage of again. Instead, it just made me an easier target. I'm dating someone new now. Met her through friends about 2 weeks ago. When she came over for dinner last weekend, the first thing she did was ask what she could contribute. Brought wine, insisted on helping with dishes, offered to split the grocery bill. It's amazing how different it feels to be with someone who wants to contribute rather than someone who sees your generosity as an opportunity to exploit. Sloane's been posting on social media about toxic men and financial abuse, but I've stopped reading it. My friends who know the whole story just screenshot the particularly ridiculous posts for entertainment value. The lesson I learned from all this: setting boundaries isn't mean. Protecting yourself isn't selfish. And someone who genuinely cares about you won't test your limits to see how much they can get away with. I'm planning a New Year's party next month, a real one, with people I actually want to celebrate with, in a house that actually belongs to me. It's going to be perfect. Edit. A lot of people have asked if I pursued any legal action for the stolen items or unauthorized rental income. I decided to let it go. Getting her out was worth more to me than continuing the legal battle, and honestly, I just wanted my life back. Edit 2. To those asking about the new person I'm dating, it's early, but promising. She's a graphic designer, has her own place, splits checks without being asked, and treats me like a partner rather than a resource. Funny how the right person makes you want to be generous instead of making you feel drained. Edit 3. Christmas update. Had my first peaceful holiday at home in years. Cooked dinner for friends who actually appreciate the invitation. Sloane's latest Instagram shows her complaining about fake people and users, But apparently she's staying with her college roommate now. Hope she's learned something, but honestly, that's not my problem anymore. Edit 4. Final thought. I used to think being a good guy meant never saying no to people who needed help. Now I understand that being a good guy means helping people who respect your help, not enabling people who exploit it. The difference is everything.